So I'm sure many are wondering why I have a whole bunch of these old running shoes sitting around here, and why I'm making poor Andrew sit next to some of my old smelly running shoes. But back when I was 25, I pretty much just buy whatever running shoe was on sale. But now that I'm in my 40s, still training for marathons, I've learned something the hard way.
Yeah, and that's that the wrong shoe doesn't necessarily just slow you down. It also can affect your knees, your hips, your recovery, and your consistency. And today we're talking about why paying a little bit more matters, and that maybe if you're not an elite runner, to stay away from carbon plated shoes as well.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and find out why.
All right, welcome back to Buy Your Kids a House podcast. Again, I'm Andrew, this is Matt. And today's segment, we're going to be talking about health and travel. Also, we have a lot of great other videos and content that if you like this, please go back, watch, like, comment, subscribe. We want to hear from you. And today we're going to be talking about shoes, specifically running shoes, and some of the technologies that go into them.
Yeah, like for those that are in the running community, you probably have already seen there's kind of been like an arms race of all the different shoe companies trying to build these elite shoes and offering more technology for the shoes. And at the time of recording this, right now, you already know I'm a big Run Disney fan. I do the Open Challenge a lot, but this weekend is Princess Marathon weekend, so kind of really, really big topic going on right now. But basically, we're going to kind of go over the aspects of what the different types of running shoes are out there, kind of who they're made for, the price points, kind of where they're at the moment, and should you or should you not invest that money into it, because a lot of times you feel like you should always get the most expensive, the best, the elite, and everything, but really is it something that you should have for the average runner? And a lot of times I don't believe so. And as you can see on here, I spent my fair share of money on these shoes, because these are just a handful of the ones that I own, and throughout the years, but again, like, does it actually really benefit the average runner, or even the below average runner, or the way below average runner? Again, being a little older, being heavier set and everything, like, that a lot of those factors matter. And that's where a lot of times, especially you're going online and seeing a lot of the shoe influencers, the run experts and everything out there, a lot of times they're experts because they're elite runners. They're really good. They're really in shape and everything. But are they giving really the advice for the average person out there and what it can benefit from? And that's where I think that sometimes that lacks a little bit. But basically, kind of a little bit over what kind of started this all. The super shoe race really was started kind of by Nike close to about 10 years ago. Came out with the Vaporfly series. They started adding their ZoomX foam, which is, again, we're going to go over the different foam types in a little bit here, but from it basically was having a much bouncier, more responsive foam. But then they slid in there also what has now become famous that a lot of times now all these shoes have is the carbon plate, which also gives you a lot more of a spring aspect and element to it to really kind of propel you forward. So you're getting the super responsive foam, but also the carbon plate to really kind of propel you forward. From there, you had then, a couple years later and everything, Alpha Fly came out. I got a couple different versions of that. And then they have competitors and everything. Obviously, as you see, I have a couple of New Balance ones on here, Saucony. I don't have the ones here, but Adidas, all these companies are coming out with their own super shoes and their own elite shoes. But they can cost upwards like $300 and everything for these super shoes now.
That's crazy. The cost of the shoes alone is like something that you may want to stop and take a look at and be like, okay, do I really need that? Do I need the new technology for the foam and the carbon plate as well in there? And a lot of times, if you're just an average runner, you're probably not going to need something as high caliber as that is.
Yeah, and then, again, if you're not, over 8 minute mile run and everything, a lot of times this technology is lost on it. And again, I'm guilty of this. These are things, again, I've learned the hard way, and I'm trying to bestow onto everyone on here so you don't make the mistakes that I made. What started me off in this, again, in my younger 20s, I just would literally walk into Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever, and whatever was on sale for $100 or so, boom, that's what I bought. But then as I started entering my 30s, I started realizing like this kind of hurts a little bit more. Like the cheap entry level shoe just wasn't cutting it, and I was on the right path for that. I do think that paying attention to getting a decent foam and decent shoe does matter. You don't want the cheapest out there, because especially if you're doing marathon distance out there and you're 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, like that impact on your joints. Because again, if you're thinking about it, you're running at a pace of 180 steps per minute. You're running for 4, 5, 6 hours. Like that pounding that your feet and everything takes. You want something there to give the feet the cushion, the support, and everything. Because as we said, in the intro there, your ankles, your knees, your hips, like all those things can be impacted from that constant pounding of the pavement. And if you don't have a good foam and good support in there, like that can really put you out of commission. You can get a lot of injuries from doing that. Again, you may not run as consistently if you want to, because if you're aching from the day before, if you're trying to run 3 to 4 times a week and everything, next time you're going to run, like, oh, I can't really run because I'm still hurting. Like, it's tough.
Right. And I mean, the recovery aspect of it too is huge. And growing up, like I never paid attention to what shoes, like your Payless or your JC Penney's is always what my parents got growing up.
Mhm.
As I got older, I started following more the philosophy of higher quality, last longer, but that didn't necessarily apply to the running shoes. And then I got into my 30s and I had actually my feet scanned a couple of years ago.
Oh.
My feet are flat because I ruined my arches. And now I have to look into finding those shoes that are better quality with the good support and be able to support up my frame. Because if we're standing all day or even running and things like that, it can all affect that significantly.
No, absolutely. And again, those are things you need to look into, especially as you start to get a little older in there. So, again, the foam in the shoe really matters, the type of shoe that you have, the stability of the shoe for those that need the stability aspect of it to help out the arch support and everything. All those things are very important. Where I think that, again, we maybe miss a little bit is the difference between a good supportive shoe, a daily training shoe, and the idea of a super racing shoe with a carbon plate. Because, again, that's where you feel like that I'm the average person sitting at home on the couch. If I get the super shoe, I'll now be able to run that 2-hour marathon out there.
Like I'm down to a 5-minute mile.
And I'm going. And again, it can be very enticing. The marketing of these are through the roof. Like the ability that they have the advertisements on there, the influencers they have out there running with them. You're seeing all the elites at your own races wearing them. Like, again, it's very, very enticing to feel like I need to have this in order to compete with them. And at the end of the day, like if you're not an elite runner, you're not competing with them. You're competing with yourself. And you're just trying to get through this process and enjoy the growth and the activity and the camaraderie of the sport of running these races. And again, that's where I think, again, coming into the budget aspect, because as again, we're very finance minded and everything, the 50-30-20 rule. Well, if you're spending $300 on a pair of shoes, that can very easily eat away at that budget. Plus the fact that these shoes don't last a whole lot, especially for the super elite level. They only last a couple hundred miles, and then it's done and over with. I mean, as you can see on these, my shoes talking over here. They're not, the super shoes are not built to be durable because they're meant to go all out, be as light as possible, give the flexibility. Well, I mean, I'm 240 pounds. If that has a few extra ounces, it's not going to make a big difference when trying to move me. But again, if you're super elite, then those few ounces do matter. But kind of go in the aspect of, you should still have good foam. Now, there's 3 main types of foams out there and everything. So, there's EVA, TPU, and PEBA, PEBA. Now, people are looking at me like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, EVA is your more common foam you're going to find. A lot of times, you're more kind of daily trainers, entry-level shoes. It's a good foam. Still not as durable. Doesn't necessarily have the spring and bounciness and everything yet. TPU, next level foam up and everything, so it has definitely a little more durability. So again, it's going to be a little bit better than the EVA. Doesn't have quite the springiness of the PEBA, but again, you're going to get a little more durability, so you're going to at least have a little more longevity out there for the shoe, which is a good thing, especially if you're looking from a budget standpoint and everything with it. Now, PEBA is now the super shoe foam level and everything. That's and each company has their own name for it. Like Nike calls it Zoom X and everything. Like everyone has their own different term for it, but PEBA, PEBA is what the foam actually is. Now, with that, I do think it is the best foam out there, but trying to find the amount of foam in relation to having a carbon plate is, I think, where you have to find the balance out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, a lot of these companies will only put the best foam in the shoes with a carbon plate. So a lot of times it's hard to have the trade-off of the good foam with or without the carbon plate. And that's where, again, the struggle can be from that.
Right. And like you've said, like they're not necessarily built to last, specifically running shoes. They're built for that, just the hard, quick use of it. And when you're looking at it, it doesn't necessarily, you don't always need that carbon plate, especially like we've talked about, unless you're an elite runner, you're not really going to get the benefits from that.
No.
But looking at the foam and upgrading your foam from the shoe, unfortunately, like you said, a lot of the highest end foams are like accompanied with or partnered with the carbon plate. But getting something a little bit better will still benefit you quite a bit.
Yeah. And again, trying to find a shoe that maybe has a mix. It has maybe some of the EVA with the Piva foam. May have a little more in the forefront of the shoe and everything. Trying to find at least one that has a little bit more. Now we'll go over a little bit of some of these that have some of that good balance, and I think that has better potential for the average person's use. Because as you mentioned, with being an elite runner, these carbon plates really only benefit you if you're sub 7 minute miles and everything. And for the majority of us, we're not at that. So for a lot of us, the carbon plate isn't really doing anything for us. What it is doing though is very close to the foot. And if you are a 4, 5, 6, 7 hour marathoner, that constant pounding of the carbon plate actually hurts your foot more than having even a lesser foam and everything on it. So the impact from that carbon plate on your foot and ankle for a longer race period of time hurts. And I've been through there. I've made that mistake. I've come through wondering like, why the heck are my feet hurting so much and everything? It's because of the carbon plate when I'm, at 5+ hours for a marathon and everything, just hitting that foot over that long of a period of time. You need to be around a 3-hour marathon runner for that carbon plate to really be the factor. Again, if you're trying to qualify for Boston and get around that 3-hour marathon time, then the carbon plate helps, and that's where it matters. But if you're over 4, 5, 6 hours, it's a hindrance and for the longevity. Because again, we want you to run years and years for the health benefits from it. But if you're hurting yourself, like you're not gonna be able to run for all those years.
Well, right, because you're doing permanent damage at that point to your feet over time. And then there goes the running. And then there goes, the shoes that you just spent a lot of money on. And like you said, you've tried it as well. You've made that mistake. And just having that something that doesn't flex as well and just that hard impact constantly over and over, especially since, most marathons are on some type of asphalt or concrete and things like that. So you don't even have the cushion of a soft ground behind you. So that impact is really hitting you hard and causing all of that damage.
Yeah, so again, there are shoes out there that have a decent blend of the Piva foam and doesn't have the carbon plate. Actually, I have a couple of them up here. I have the Nike Fresh Foam, not Nike, New Balance and everything. This is a more V4. I also have the New Balance Rebel. Not necessarily saying it's just New Balance. Those just happen to be the ones that I have up here and everything. Now, a lot of times they'll consider these more your daily trainer shoes. But I think these are still, especially the Rebel here, great for a lot of races. And again, you're getting the benefit of the better foam, or at least a percentage of the better foam, but doesn't have the carbon plate. So you're going to still have that benefit of not hurting your feet over the time and everything. So again, in these also much more affordable. These are around $150 a shoe, so half the price of the elite shoes. So again, having that benefit of cost savings, but also the longevity of the shoe, the longevity of your feet. Because even if you're not injuring your foot long term, if it just hurts, you're probably going to quit.
I was going to say, you're not going to be motivated to continue running at all. Like every time I run, my feet hurt like crazy. So why am I going to continue to do it? I'll figure out something else to do. But having the blends, like you were saying, is a much more affordable option for one. Like you said, half the cost of these elite shoes. And then if you're using like the elite shoes all the time, they're going to wear down really quick. So your feet are hurting, it's already wore down, and you can't use it anymore. It's a better option unless you are really, really training hard and you're getting that, lower times for the marathon. I agree completely. I don't necessarily think you need any of the carbon plated, anything like that.
Yeah. And there's also, so you mentioned also about the shoes wearing down faster. And that is a huge factor because this shoe looks like I did like 10,000 miles in it. I did not. It's only a few hundred. But from a cost savings aspect of it also, a lot of times what I do with my running shoes after they retire from running, I would turn them into my daily use shoe, and again, that's a great way to cost save and everything. So yes, you're not running in them because the foam no longer has the support for running bounce,
right?
But it's fine to walk around in, especially walk around theme parks or whatever and everything.
Yeah.
But these super elite shoes, very difficult to become your daily wearing shoes. Look at this shoe. Look at this shoe. No, and I'm not trying to bash Nike. All the super shoes kind of follow this. These are not daily wearable shoes. Like if you saw me just walking around these anywhere and everything, like first off,
where's he trying to run to?
Yeah, first off, they're not comfortable just to walk around in.
Yeah.
They're very loud because the carbon plate you can hear clicking as you're going. And again, like they feel weird and awkward because like they are a bouncy, so like it gives you like a higher feel. So they're not meant to be just walked around in, and they also automatically rock a little bit, so you're kind of standing on your toes just to begin with. Whereas my New Balances, this has become my daily wear after I'm done retiring from racing and everything with them. Again, as you can see, this one would be a little more beat up because that currently is a lot of times my daily wearing shoe and everything. It still works fine in that aspect
Yeah.
of my daily use. So now I'm saving the money on having to have a daily wearing shoe that also was formerly a race running shoe.
Right. And that's such a good point too, being able to just retire your running shoes into being just your everyday walking shoes. So that is just another point though, where unless you're really, really trying hard to break those times and you were already, training and running, and it's not a big uptick for the benefit from it as well. Because like you said, you get no flexibility out of that from just walking around. You feel like you're more just clunking, and then you have the noise and almost like on your toes and stuff like that is going to hurt your feet longevity, like we've talked about just now. But I think overall the cost and everything is a lot better to go with a mid-range, maybe not necessarily the cheapest, because you do want something that will keep you comfortable and something that you can use consistently. But I think that is a huge option.
Yeah, I think, again, you want to invest in a shoe.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want a cheap shoe out there because, again, as I said before, the foam matters. Find out, which one has more of the PIBA foam in there and everything. Finding out, who has at least a good balance of that. And I think something in the $150, $180 range is a good sweet spot to find for these.
Yeah.
Because in essence, if you're doing it right, you're getting two shoes for the price of one, because you're having a race shoe and then your daily wear shoe after you retire it. But again, having that balance of at least having a shoe that you can use twice is massive, because also you got to even look at it from a comfort standpoint. I'll show on this one. This is no carbon plate. If you notice this, I can easily do this.
Yeah.
Now go back to my Alpha Fly.
There's no
bend. Imagine walking around, let's say, a theme park for 5+ hours in a shoe that has zero give, and you're constantly honking around. That's a loud shoe to walk around in. And even like if you look at it, like, and again, a lot of shoes, like very little minimal tread and everything on there, because it's meant to be a racing shoe.
Yeah.
So again, if you are not qualifying for Boston or attempting to qualify for Boston, and for those that don't know about qualifying for Boston, you generally need to run around a 3-hour marathon which is a very, very fast pace. You're looking at about 7-minute miles, give or take a few seconds on your age bracket and everything like that. But like, just using 3 hours is a nice round number right now. If you're not at that point where you're like, I'm at 3:05 and I need to shave off those 5 minutes and everything, you do not need these elite carbon plate shoes and everything. I again made, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a mistake, and I'm not trying to bash these shoes, but as you can see, I've gone through many iterations of these shoes, and now I've graduated on to others. And I'm not just saying that New Balance is who you should go with and everything. I'm just saying that I transitioned from carbon plate shoes to regular non-carbon plate shoes, and I even start off because the New Balance in front there is a carbon plated shoe. So again, I'm not saying that it's just this brand. I mean, I went carbon plate there as well. Yeah. But now I've gone on to others that are not carbon plated, and I'm still looking at other shoes, and I'm looking at Adidas and everything I want to try out. There are other shoes, and we're going to maybe do some reviews on here when I buy new shoes of where I think at, recommending the shoe, especially for those that are a little bit older, a little bit have extra weight to carry around and everything. But for right now, if you're in a category similar to me, which I think, a lot of people hopefully watching are, again, I think that something that is a non-plated but better foam shoe is the route to go from this. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. And honestly, for years, I didn't even know they started making the carbon plated shoes, because I'm not as big into running as you are.
We've talked about doing it, though.
We have talked about doing it. There may be video evidence somewhere of that.
Definitely video evidence, and I will hold it over your head.
If you'd like to look for it, it's in one of our previous videos. Feel free to go look. Scroll through the other ones while you're there.
Yeah.
But I have started looking more into better running shoes, because even like in my older years now, I buy more comfortable shoes, and I feel like I look for the comfort now, but I don't look for what is going to help me with the running and what is going to help me be able to last a marathon without my feet just dying by the end of it, because that is something I'm also concerned about, is like my feet, now that I know that they're so flat, by the end of it, I'm going to just want to lay on the ground for the next 4 hours.
Yeah. No, and again, it's finding that balance in there and everything. And again, like, I do think that it is important to make sure that you have the preparation of this. But again, as we've said many times, it's also that finding the balance with the money and everything of what it costs versus what you're getting. And I do think that, again, that $150, $180 range for a medium foam shoe, but is the route to go. Now, again, I happen to be a New Balance person. I so much higher other brands, but if you already have other brands out there, whether it's Adidas, Hoka, On Cloud, whatever it is, put in the comments on there saying like, hey, I'm always looking for good shoe recommendations.
Yeah.
We'd love to have it on the show that, maybe show and highlight what we think of it. So put in there like, hey, I love using this brand of shoe and this type of shoe because it does X, Y, Z, whether it's carbon plated or not. Maybe you're yelling me through the screen right now saying I'm carbon plated all the way. It will be carbon plated till I die. Like, please put on there why you feel that it really benefits you at the level of running you're at. Because again, if I'm talking about Boston and below, should be looking at it. If you're a 5-hour, 6-hour marathoner and you swear by carbon plate, tell me why. I love to have that conversation with you because again, I do feel that if you're at that pace right now and everything, your longevity and health and everything is much more of a greater concern to me than shaving a few seconds off because of the plate.
Yeah.
Again, like, yes, do I feel I run faster than these? Absolutely. Maybe it's a placebo effect because I'm in it. You just have that in there. Sure thing. But I do think they are a great shoe, and I do think that I go faster in them. But I don't think that it outweighs the negatives of the higher costs, the impact of the discomfort, all the other elements of what it could be hurting and injuring and everything. Because like I've literally come out of these shoes and they, they have been throbbing in pain and everything. And the rest of the day I'm walking around much more
just
because
wobbling.
my feet, just because it just hurts.
Yeah.
Versus when I run in some of these other shoes that doesn't have the carbon plate in there and everything. So, again, put in there, are there other brand suggestions that you would go for? Oh, and tell us the reasons why and everything. But again, when I think at the end of the day, you're getting 2 shoes for the price of 1 because you still have your daily walker in there. I think from the financial standpoint, which is where we come from, that is the winner in this, unless you feel any different on that.
Nope, I agree completely because if you can have 2 pairs for the price of these ones that you're only going to be using for marathons or like your intense running, it's better to go with those as well because like we've talked about, they're not necessarily designed for longevity. They're designed for that impact and that like constant use. So being able to get 2 of those and then extend that time frame of what you can use it for, I think is a lot better option. So no, I agree completely.
Yeah. So again, I think that kind of sums up, the battle of the carbon plated versus non-carbon plated and what foam and everything to look for. Yeah. Again, PIBA is the kind of the main best foam currently on the market. And again, every brand has their different nickname moniker for it. You can easily find out depending on which brand shoe you're looking for, which one that constitutes as, whether it's Ultra Boost or Zoom X or whatever. But if you find out there, what is the name for this PIBA, PEBA foam and everything. But I think that kind of breaks down what I feel again for the average runner or the below average runner of it and everything. But thank you again for watching this to the end. I really hope you learned a lot from this. And again, we want to have that conversation back and forth. But as we always like to say and everything, in order to build wealth, you have to invest the boring way.
So your kids can live the bold way.
Until next time, thank you very much.